Sorry. Okay. So, hi. I'm Rachael Scahill, and together with my co-lead, Nikki Hobbs, we're just going to give you a brief overview of what's going on in the Imaging Working Group. So our objectives are to develop and really promote best practice, both in terms of image acquisition and analysis of neuroimaging data. And we do that really in three ways. Firstly, by supporting researchers who are planning, executing and reporting imaging studies. And I really wanted to use this opportunity to sort of reach out to people and say, if you are planning an imaging study, do get in touch with the Imaging Working Group, because there's a lot of expertise that you can tap into, and really the earlier you get support, the better, because obviously acquisition, if you don't get the right acquisition, that's very difficult to rectify later on. So do reach out to us. Our emails are at the end of the presentation, and we are a very friendly bunch and like discussing imaging, so come and talk to us. We also want to improve the understanding of HD neuropathology, both in terms of the neurodevelopmental aspect and neurodegenerative. And then really important for us is facilitating imaging measures for use in clinical trials. Who are we? We are multidisciplinary, and in addition to lots of academic groups, we're really delighted that we have participation from industry and also our funders CHDI. We are multinational. We have 81 members on our circulation list, but we're not just European. We also have members from the US and from Australia, and we're multimodal. So we have broad expertise in imaging. We can talk about volumetric, diffusion, PET, a whole range. And how do we work? Well, yesterday it was fantastic to be able to have a face-to-face meeting finally. And we had 20 attendees from US and Europe. We also have remote meetings. So the last one was May last year, where we had 28 attendees, again from the US and from Europe. But it's really important that we actually have an output. So sometimes we find it's more effective to address a particular problem with a small sub-team. So currently a team of 6 of us from different imaging modalities are writing a review of imaging for clinical trials. I'm just going to hand over to Nikki now, who's going to tell you what went on yesterday.
Thank you. So last night, the Imaging Working Group had a face-to-face meeting. It was really great to be able to meet in person again after all these years, and it was a productive meeting. So now I'm going to do my best to sort of summarize the highlights of the meeting to you. So first up, we were joined remotely by Aileen Delver from KU Leuven. So Aileen provided an update on mutant Huntington tracer development in PET. So to summarize, dosimetry and biodistribution studies have shown CHDI-180R to be a really promising tracer for mutant Huntington, with significantly elevated levels in stage 2 HD in some brain regions. Now, Aileen explained that there's a lot of work still to do with this tracer, so ongoing work and further work planned. But ultimately, it is hoped that PET radio tracers targeting aggregated mutant Huntington may provide biomarkers of target engagement in future mutant Huntington lowering clinical trials. And this would represent a real breakthrough. So next up was Dorian Kristina from CHDI, talking about federating imaging data sets in BIDS format. So Dorian talked about all the work that's going on at CHDI, converting raw data from a number of large observational studies into a standard format. And although this is really painstaking work, it's incredibly important, because organizing data in a consistent way will hugely facilitate data sharing, which, as we all know, is vital to research. Dorian also talked a bit about how data will be cloned and any new processing performed can then be reintegrated into this standardized data set with all steps fully traceable. Next up was Marina Papuzzi from IXICO. So Marina talked about a new consortium to harmonize volumetric MRI analysis in HD. So at IXICO, they're harmonizing this volumetric analysis of over 6,000 existing observational MRI data points. They're using AI and deep learning to generate these new volumetric segmentations. And really importantly, they are checking the consistency with a manual gold standard measure that we know to be reliable. So this is really robust work that's going on and has really important implications for future clinical trials using volumetric MRI. So more to come from that. Finally, we heard from Lauren Byrne from UCL. Lauren's talking about her plans to image across the entire age spectrum in Huntington's disease. And there's a photo of Lauren enjoying a local drink last night. So Lauren has some really ambitious aims to integrate existing juvenile HD imaging data sets with adult data sets from PREDICT and TRACK. And ultimately, this should enable us to understand the trajectory of both neurodevelopment and neurodegeneration in HD. So there are complexities with the analysis, but the output could be really enlightening. So we had discussions about this during our meeting yesterday, and we plan to set up an imaging working group sub-team to work on some of these complexities of harmonizing imaging data sets, particularly pediatric data. We then briefly talked about an imaging working group sub-team that has already been formed and has been working for the last year on a current opinion article. So this is focused on how imaging can facilitate clinical trials in HD. So as you can see from this slide, we've got a range of expertise in different imaging modalities, both structural and functional. We've also got representation for both industry and academia, which we think is important. So we've got a draft paper. We'll be circulating it to the wider imaging working group for their input prior to publication. And if you want to know more about this, please come and see us at poster E15 for some extra details. Finally, our objectives for the next 12 months. Well, we really hope to publish our consensus review on imaging for clinical trials. We will be holding a remote imaging working group meeting. And we'll also be establishing these sub-teams to address image harmonization and pediatric imaging. So finally, I'd just like to say a huge thanks to EHDN for their support of the imaging working group. We all really value being a part of it. And as Rachel said earlier, our contact details are at the bottom of the slide. Please reach out to us if you would like to join our working group or you want some advice on something. We love to hear from you. And thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Rachel and Nicola. We've got time for one quick question. I can't see anyone. I've got a question for you. Is there any expertise that you're lacking in the imaging working group? Anything, technology, whatever it might be, that you think would make a difference?
Probably, we could probably do with some additional expertise in AI. So if anyone has that expertise, we would happily we'd really like to hear from you. And we also have slightly more limited expertise in PET imaging compared with some of the other modalities. So we've definitely got space for more PET images if you're out there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.